Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio this evening, and we'll get straight on with carrying on with this lion. Let's see what we can do with him tonight. Let's see if we can manage to sort out something that looks like a lion. So I could say my usual phrase, which is heat 'em up, but I don't think I'll say it tonight. So, got some heat on there. We've got well, let's just go to it. So essentially just lots and lots of hair, and I'm afraid there's not really anything particularly exciting about it. We just need to carry on doing lots and lots of hair, and that seems to be the best way to approach this. Now that I've started down that road, so ultimately whether it would have been better just doing shading, I'm not sure I'd have been happy with the actual result. So I decided I wanted a little bit more sort of texture inside the ear. It looked a bit wrong. So we're just adding a little bit more in there. I'm going to be dotting around all over the place. I'm unlikely to stick to one particular space or place. Okay, well, I've done a bit there. We'll come back to it again later. I'm doing here is just tightening off this area a little bit. It seems a little bit light to me and doesn't really stand out, so we're making it stand out a bit more. Doing that by just generally darkening the area. Hopefully it'll start to frame the face a little bit better. Now this area was originally done with the edge of the shader. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two pens interact with one another. Okay, so again, just adding in more layers, basically more colour as well. It's not looking too bad actually, round about the ears. Certainly, anyway, here on the broadcast window. So what looks like is happening as I increase the density of these marks is it's starting to look a little bit more fur-like. It still looks like a lot of lines, but at a sort of a slight distance, these are less like lines and more like patterns. When the fur, fur, because of all the layers of fur, so it is starting to come together in a way. Just kind of what I was hoping would happen. I'm not quite sure whether I've got the hang of it or it's just coincidental. Now, one of the things I am learning a little bit here is trying to be really light, because that seems to create a finer line, which seems to be more in keeping with what I'm wanting it to look like. Now the lighter touch also does require a little bit more heat, because you're not conducting as much heat into the wood. So it's slightly slower, I guess, progression and movement of the pen. And I could turn up the heat as well, and I actually do have the heat up quite a lot for this particular pen. So I don't really want to do that more than I've got here, but I run the danger of getting massive black blobs. Which of course is not ideal. So we'll stick with the temperature as it is now. Okay, that's looking a bit better than it was. Those little sort of dark spots on the mane, not fantastically comfortable with, but we'll deal with it. Achmarie. Any particular reason why I shouldn't remember you? Good evening. And welcome back. And yes, I do. You did follow me that evening. So I trust you are doing well. I'm just going to try something. Where's my scalpel? There it is. Doesn't look like it's going to do what I want it to do. Okay. What I'm just wondering what I could do here is use the scalpel to actually lighten some of the shades. And I'm trying not to dig too much into the actual wood, so I'm just scraping at the surface. What that does is scrape some of the... It's like a glaze or a varnish that the pyrography creates on the surface. But it's not really doing much. Just trying to get something that actually I am happy with in terms of texture. I may have to do something with it here and do it sort of some sort of stylization. Like, I don't know. I'll come back to it. I keep trying things. I'm not actually sure what I want or how I want to do the fur, so this is all about trying things out, learning what works, what's not working. Well, thank you very much for that, Nachmarie. I'm learning, shall we say? I think that's how I describe myself rather than that. But thank you for your assessment and confidence. I'm really trying to do here, so lots of little fine lines so that over the top of each other to create like a depth. Not sure if it's working particularly fantastically well, but it's a technique that sort of is a long time. You have to do it for within one particular picture. You've got to do it a lot to see the results of it, and so I'm persevering with it at the moment. Now around the back here, this is going to get somewhat darker, so now as I get around the, well, certainly around here, the hair is really dark. It's in it's in shadow, so I can only slow down so much because otherwise it creates, if I slow right down, it creates a thick line, and I want lots of thin ones. And that I can see as being a fair bit of challenge with this. Is to keep creating thin lines and not fat ones. And generally speaking, the hair's sort of all going in one direction, which is that way. So the general lie of the hairs has really got to be in that direction. But individual hairs can go in any sort of direction. And indeed, you know, sort of two hairs don't lie exactly parallel to each or anything like that. They're all sort of curly and twisted. And 3D Bloke, good evening and welcome to the studio tonight. And how are you doing today? I'm busy trying to do the pyrographic equivalent of dagger strokes. Lots of dagger strokes. Oh, you're going to do Bob Ross tonight? Ah, that's definitely something then I have got to watch. When are you starting that, Free? Are you starting early tonight, or are you starting at 10? Because quite frankly, I want to watch. So if you're starting early, I'm finishing early. Coyote Dancer, good evening and welcome, and thank you very much. Do you know how to do hair? I'm struggling with the hair, but okay. Well, yeah, at least give me some warning. Seriously, I do want to watch that. So do you stream yourself, Coyote Dancer? Because if you do, I'd certainly. Well, you're at least one up on me then, Coyote Dancer. I don't have a website, but you're quite welcome to, if I let you. If I just do if you want to, when I've just done this, C O Y, and then if you'd like to post your website, you're quite welcome to do so, Coyote Dancer. I'm not confident though. It's all an act. I have no real idea what I'm doing in respect to this. So this is it's the first time I've tried sort of long hair like this. I've done short-haired pets, so like a short-haired cat here, which was okay to do, but this long hair stuff is challenging. I have got to take a look at this. I've got to take a look at this. Interesting. The interesting. They are beautiful. Thank you. Your. I meant yours, not mine. Although I think mine. I think Junior. That's Junior, by the way. I do think Junior is a beautiful cat, but I mean yours are beautiful. And interestingly, the interesting thing is it keeps things like that keep prompting me. Is I'm due to have some trees cut down. Mind you, they are things like Norwegian pine and stuff, which doesn't pyrograph too well, as you're probably aware. But I keep thinking about having them cut slices so that I could dry them and use them at some point in the future. But they're really good. Yeah, I'm going to save that one later, because otherwise I'll spend the next 20 minutes looking at your your things rather than actually going on and doing some pyrography here as well. Yeah. I kind of would say, but you know, with work that good, you should have a go at streaming, and confidence actually comes with, like you have with your pyrography. Confidence comes with practice. So you get, as you do more, you get better at it. And to start with, the easiest way to start is just to explain what you're doing as you're doing it, and then the rest comes as with practice. And that's me almost suggesting I know what I'm doing and I don't, but being a very shy person, I can talk continuously if necessary. Pine is tough to work with. I've never actually tried pyrographing on basswood. This is birch plywood that I'm using here, which is semi-easy to get hold of over here in the UK. Bass isn't actually that easy, to be honest, to get. I mean, I'm assuming you're American, but I don't actually know the answer to that. It is certainly available a lot more easily and readily over there. I do have some because I carve as well, and I use bass for carving. And maybe what I'll have to do is try some from that. Yeah. Well, it's it purely was a guess, but I think when you mention basswood, that tends to it's not that well known in sort of Europe as such, although in Europe it's called European lime, and it's a little bit better known that way. But that's what sort of made me think that you were you were from over there. Yeah, I'd love to see other people pyrographing. There's a couple of people that I have seen do it on Twitch. One Cannon Bear is one that does it occasionally, and there's another guy that I actually can't remember that I haven't seen do it for a while. I certainly would like to see some more people doing it, and learn from other people as well. I've watched quite a lot of the videos on YouTube, and I think I've seen many of the, well, most of the good ones, and a lot of the time on YouTube they're all sped up, so it's kind of hard to follow what's going on sometimes. Exilian, good evening, welcome. Golden Duke, good evening, welcome. So I'm not that sure about what I'm doing. I've got a feeling I've probably made this too dark. It was meant to be hard shadow, but I think I've probably made it too hard a shadow. But it may turn out to be okay if I can blend the edges a little bit better and take away. I mean, I picked up the idea from one reference picture of doing that, and on the reference picture it was a really hard shadow, so even on the fur, so and I liked the look of it, which is why I kind of picked up the idea. But there's a difference between sort of photographs and pyrography. Yeah, they can. Or they are, shall we say. I am kind of wondering whether they're actually ever going to get dark enough for what I want, but we shall see. How fine a sandpaper do you prep your... I don't actually know what it is off the top of my head. I'll bet this piece of paper... yeah. It doesn't. It's probably in the few hundreds. I mean, it is fine. But this is ply. This is sanded ply anyway, so I just need to sort of take the surface fluff off. So I just use the. It must be something like about 600 grit, something like that. I think. I don't have a big sheet around that I could look at. I have a tendency just to, I'm looking to sand something, I'll just pick up a sheet and go, that's about what I want, and just use that. Yeah. Well, as I say, this wood is bought this way, so it's not like it's just been planed or anything, with it being. Well, it's not far off being a veneer, really, I suppose. So it's it doesn't need any of the coarse stuff. All I'm looking for it to do is not really to put scratches on the surface, so it's fine enough for that. and as I say, it's really just taking that fluff off the top. If it was sort of as you had on the front page of your website, it was log rounds, then I don't know. So far I have thought on this many times that I probably should have stylised the fur the mane a little bit more than I'm doing it. I did kind of though want to really see if I could replicate that sort of individual hair look. It's probably a mistake, but that's how one learns, by making mistakes and not doing them again. Or if they work, doing them again. Yep, that's right. You recognise the pen. It's an SSD10, so the dual pen version, which I quite like. Not that I've used any others, but I did pick this one specifically. What are you using, Coyote Dancer? Okay, Greedy Grove. You feel like channeling Bob Ross, then go ahead, but I suspect he would be even more pleased if you were to stream making pictures. Yeah, Coyote Dancer, I'd be interested in what you're using and what you think of it. I've not used any others, so I've only used razor tip. As I say, I chose it specifically because of the fact that there's fixed pens, and it's relatively easy to change pens. I must admit that I don't fantastically like the connectors that they chose. To my mind, these are audio connectors, not power connectors, but now that's interesting. I was talking to MTS Wood, who generally does lathe work on stream, and he's got a walnut hollow tool that he was going to try out. So I mean, though I have seen artwork with people doing things like the walnut hollow or soldering irons, and done some absolutely fantastic work. So if you know what you're doing, the tools make it easier. Yeah, I prefer the fixed tips. Unfortunately, in the UK, they're not as easy to get hold of. In actual fact, there's not that many importers across the whole of Europe, so I'd either have to import my own or get one of them to do the import for me when they order stuff. But so I've had to resort to using the interchangeable tips. If nothing else, actually, it's a cheaper way of finding out which ones you like, and at some point I'm going to buy a fixed version of that. I do prefer the fixed tips and the heavy duty pens, as you can see. This one does get bit hot. Yeah, I tell you what, I kind of don't envy you when you come to do antlers and bone. It's bad enough when you catch a cat. We got cats, as you might gather. It's bad enough when you catch a cat hair. never mind antlers. I don't know what it's going to be like. Yeah. What I said, Greedy Grove, was I think if you're channeling Bob, he'd probably prefer you to actually stream painting a picture, which would be amazing to watch. Yeah, I would have thought so. My studio at the moment is in the house, so I don't think I'd be doing those. I do have the respirator though, a carbon respirator, which I use when I'm doing I was going to say solvent painting, but solvent clear coating. But I've also got a compressor, so I could always get a breathing mask as well. This has gone off. Yeah, there we go. I meant to type the only thing I don't like, well, apart from mentioning the connectors, I don't like the internal contacts on the connectors. I keep having to tweak them to tighten them up, and I don't particularly like that. Thank you, Greedy Grove. Yeah, I've got a lot more work to do on the shadows on this. At the moment, it does now look really odd. It looks kind of like the lion's poking his head through a sheet of something. I do actually also. I mean, one of the things that would be nice with I don't know whether it's common for pyrographic tools, but I do find it would be nice if they were temperature controlled. Is the word I was looking for. How was I what to pyrographic art or pyrographic art? Don't really. I couldn't really tell you that. I think I about 4 or 5 years ago now I started doing airbrush painting, and I think probably at some point in doing that, I'll have been sort of looking up YouTube videos, and YouTube will have done its other things that you might be interested in, and popped up some pyrography, and I'll have seen seen the images that can be produced. If, I don't know if you've come across on YouTube Jean Buick, I think it is, for example, who produces some really lovely pyrography, and just sort of inspired to try it, if you like, and then just tried it. It's kind of like how I've got into all of the arts and crafts that I now do, is just seeing somebody doing it, having fun doing it, and thought, hey, that looks interesting to try. In terms of if you're talking about the art style itself, which I tend to refer to this as photo, in quotes, photorealistic. I know it doesn't look like a photograph, but it is that style, as opposed to illustration style, or what I describe as illustration style, where you'll have black lines around things. It's just me. I like detail, and I like photorealism. Now, I'm not claiming this is anything like a photograph or that realistic, but I just like that sort of style of work. So I've in all of the things that I do, whether it's airbrushing or anything else for that matter, then that's kind of where it comes from. Yeah, it's still not dark. It's you can probably tell that from time to time I get bored quite easily, which is why I keep hopping around the picture. Well, that's one of the reasons why I keep hopping around the picture. One of the other two of the other reasons for doing it is just it gives you a different perspective on what you're looking at, as I'm sure some of you are aware. But also, I sometimes find it hard to work on pictures where I can't see the whole picture. I kind of surprised myself by being able to do the face without doing some of the back, the ears and the mane. But quite often I need to have sort of an overall impression of the picture down before I can do like a lot of the shading and things like that. They are available to be sold, Greedy. I don't actively go out and sell them as such. The pieces in the past have been sold. The pieces that I've done on stream so far haven't, but they are available, as is commission stuff. Don't know, Greedy. I tend not to work that out before it's finished, because if this takes me another 3 weeks to do, then that's different to if I finish it in a couple of days. Something like the Lancaster. That was probably, well, with it. I'll get my words out. This in itself would probably be somewhere around the 1890 UK pounds for something like that. The animals are actually a lot more work. That Lancaster, for example, this cat took about twice as long as the Lancaster did to do. Animals are just a lot harder than sort of physical objects to do. That one isn't for sale, by the way, because that's one of my cats. Don't know, what is dollars at the moment? It's saying around about 140 US dollars. Oh, Google's saying that at the moment. Moobot has some very interesting timing sometimes, but it's purely coincidental. What he's doing there is advertising. The other thing that I do on stream from time to time is jewellery making, chainmail mainly, which is what a lot of those pieces are there that have been done on stream. But I also do sell those as well. There's an Etsy shop where they can be bought from, if anybody's interested. And Moobot just happened, pure coincidence, to pop up that there. Thank you, Kaya Dancer. That's very kind of you to do that. there's anybody watching that might be interested in buying anything from that for Christmas presents or for themselves at Christmas, don't leave it too long, because it takes a little while. They're not 2-minute constructions, aren't those bracelets and necklaces. They do take a little while to make, and of course as you get closer to Christmas there is the postal delays. So I'm not suggesting anybody go out and buy anything that they don't want, but if you do, just take that into consideration. Wouldn't want you to be disappointed. It's totally going to be the shadows on this main that make or break this, I think. So I was also debating about what to do here. I think to make the shadows make sense, I'm almost certainly going to have to really darken that background off as well, which might prove interesting, but and I'm also starting to think I'm probably going to have to do that before I sort of get much further, just because all the light wood is throwing off perception for me anyway. I'm judging this against the light wood when I should be judging it against dark wood, and I think it's throwing off my I'll call it colour sense, but shade sense. No, I was thinking more of a totally black background, not black, because I don't want to necessarily go that dark, but sort of a really dark background, so that the concentration is literally on the face. Really, I do want to sort of darken this area off quite a bit. I had to play about on an earlier one. On this one, we're sort of that sort of darker starting to do some of the darker background on there, and it sort of it gave a different look. With airbrushing, one of the things I really enjoy is monochrome, white on black, where you work with a black canvas, or in my case paper, and do white over the top. And I was kind of thinking about trying to, sort of played about with it in this respect, but actually sort of doing this one like that, really dark, so this then pops out of the night almost. You have confidence, Free, don't you? You have real confidence that you're going to stick to the schedule. Thank you, Coyote Dancer. Yeah, I don't want anything here because it literally, you know, whether it's black or white, it would distract you from the face, which at the moment sort of grabs you, and I think with the black it will do the same. You have zero confidence. One of the things, guys, that 3D Bloke is also a streamer and an artist. He does airbrushing and acrylic and oil brushwork as well, and he's been doing some really interesting stuff and playing about with oils and finding out that that pen's gone cold. Finding out that they take quite a long time to dry. But one of the things he's going to try tonight is a paint along with Bob Ross. So he's going to play a Bob Ross episode and paint the picture alongside along with Bob. And we're going to see if it's as easy as Bob says it is. Now it looks like from what Freeze just said, he'll be going live just as I finish, which is nice and convenient. We do a handover, and so you can watch me for the rest of my stream and then follow over and watch 3D Bloke. But if you need to go in the meantime, guys, favourite or at least check out 3D Bloke and take a look at his art. Some of the stuff is absolutely fantastic, and the rest of the stuff is almost as good. I don't bet 3D. I have been to Las Vegas and not bet anything. Not on the machines, cards, tables, anything. Yeah, and at some point I am gonna do the same thing, Coyote Dancer. I do have Ladies Hour. My wife has a good few years ago now actually got me a Bob Ross kit and canvas and paint and it's sat literally waiting for enough space to be able to do it. So actually, I'm hoping the paint's still okay. If not, I'll have to buy some more, but I am hoping to find out for myself one of these days, and hopefully sometime next year, because I'm getting a larger studio, a significantly larger studio, and I will then have the opportunity to try out things like that. Real risky tonight. Greedy Grove, thank you very much for following. That's very kind of you. You're risky tonight. You're fairly confident it's a good bet then, Free. Actually, I kind of wouldn't be surprised if it turns out easier than you think it would. The reason for me saying that is when I first thought about starting airbrushing, my wife basically said to me, "But you can't paint." Actually, she also said you can't draw either, but that's and because I'd been watching a fair few Bob Ross stuff at that point. So what I just did at that point was I got a tablet and a painting program. So I just sort of took effectively a palette knife tool and did the mountain with the white for the snow, and then just dappled some stuff around it and said, "You sure?" And it actually looked quite good. So yeah, it's I think you should, Coyote Dancer. It's I mean I whilst I sort of been back, well, I'll say back into art for about 5 years now. Although I kind of been interested all my life. The one thing that streaming has done has made me actually do 2 hours every night, and I've done more art since I started streaming than I've virtually done the whole of my life. So I think you should. Well, I don't know, to be honest, Coyote Dancer. So yeah, Bob Ross, you see, just up and down. I mean, it was on a computer screen, so it's not quite the same as real paint, but it was kind of just like he said, you know, up here and across there, and yes, so. I do mind you, I'm just thinking now, I sort of do feel like a cheat sometimes. I mean, here I am just drawing lines and lines and lines. Semi-near, that's next week, isn't it? Semi-near. Near's tomorrow and far's a month away, so semi-near must be sort of in the next week or so. Tell you what I'm going to do, and that is so that in case you do Coyote Dancer, whether you paint or whether or not that's interesting, or whether you do Pyrography, I will follow you like that, and then if you do and I'm around, I'll watch. Well, if it's with brush painting, you'd be best asking 3D. He's the professional. I've not done any, but Pyrography, you probably know as much as I do. Indeed, especially if you can get a cheap deal on one. Well, I certainly don't mind you joining in the stream and watching Coyote Dancer. I certainly learn as I go along, so. When it's finished, Nakamui, drop me an email on Twitch, a message on Twitch, and we can discuss it. Just bear with me a second, guys. I'm just going to mute the microphone because Lady Zara's shouting something at me. Just a moment, guys. I will be back very shortly. And I'm back. That's okay, Coyote Dancer. Yeah, indeed, that's yeah. it is a slightly double-edged sword, though, doing commissions on stream, and that is, I'm not suggesting that you make mistakes. I make mistakes, but if your customers see you make a mistake and then have to correct it, it's either they're impressed that you can fix your mistakes, or they don't want something that's got a mistake in it. But I don't think you're about to do that. Yeah. And of course, when I'm streaming like this, I make the mistake, so you don't have to, as they say. Talking about cameras as well, I mean, both free and actually a lot of streamers do use the Logitech C920 there, because it's a HD camera. But you might find if you have a stills camera, a digital stills camera, some of those will work as webcams, which might be a way in which you can do it without spending money to start with. So you may always, if you have a video camera, for taking moving pictures, which is what you normally do with a video camera, you might find that will plug in as well. Yeah, I tend to use a medical scalpel for doing it, but of course, well, as you know, you can only go so far with it before it becomes disruptive to the image to try and go over the top of it. Although I'm getting quite handy at doing the scrapey stuff at the moment, with scraper board as well. So I've got to get out of. I'm still creating blobs at the starter lines. I ought to know better, but I'm still creating blobs. Macweebone, good evening, welcome, and thank you. Yeah, you can indeed, free. I mean, some will actually plug in direct anyway, so you don't necessarily have to capture the video. And okay. I was going to say that there is also one problem with the Logitech C920, and that is the colour purple. The camera does not like the colour purple. It thinks it's blue. It thinks it's a really funny blue, but it does think it's blue. And everybody has exactly the same problem with it. And I was just going to... For pyrography, it doesn't matter, but if you're painting, it might. Because with the jewellery making, I have the problem, and that colour there is a really lovely rich purple, and for some reason it comes out blue. That's a lavender. Now you can almost start to see a little bit of that, but it just misses that colour completely. On screen, what you're seeing as that colour there, I'm seeing looking like that. So you're seeing that and that almost the same colour. And yet that's a royal blue and that's a real rich sort of majestic purple. If you're familiar with chocolates, Milka chocolates or Cadbury's chocolates, the purple out of that, it's that sort of colour. That's the only problem with this camera. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, apart from that, it's an absolutely excellent camera. That is the only thing with it, and I don't think I've found a camera which is as good as this in terms of resolution and things as a webcam. So I put up with that. Yeah, now when I see that colour now on stream, the blue, when the purple that shows up blue, it has an odd sort of tint or glow to it when I see it on stream. So now I'm starting to recognise that, hey, that's actually not blue, that's purple. But it only matters occasionally. No, I won't do that on stream, but that connection is getting a bit loose. Missed it. Sorry. There was a hair. it's the thing that puts me off a little bit about trying pyrography on things like leather or goods, just in case they're as bad as hair is. One of the things I want to try is, because I do high speed rotary carving as well. I don't do it on stream, but I've got a high speed rotary tool here. One of the things I've wanted to try is carving an egg. Now probably something more like an ostrich egg rather than a chicken's egg, but I'm kind of put off doing that because I know it's going to smell, and I'm not quite sure quite how unpleasant it's going to be, because it's going. I am sure it's going to resemble either of this when it's gets a hair on it, or the smell you get at a dentist, because that's a dental drill. And it's hot enough to actually sort of cook the, or it will be, the friction will be hot enough to cook the eggshell as you're doing it. Now come on, Zarragan, you know how not to create blobs at the start of lines. Indeed. Don't know anything about them, 3D, to be honest. And things like the ostrich eggs, again, seeing it done on YouTube and some of the intricate stuff, I'm not suggesting it'd be anywhere that good, but some of the interesting stuff that's done with them in shapes and things, and it just looked fun to do, and it's on my list of maybe things to try, but ostrich eggs aren't cheap, so I may try with a few hen's eggs first. But there are things like, I'm trying to think which bird it is now, but one of them has an egg. It's about this tall, but it's like a green blue egg, really dark, and it maybe is an emu, not sure. What the experts do with that is effectively they shave away the surface, and it goes from dark green through to light blue through to white as you get thinner. And so if you light from the inside, you've got almost like a relief image, relief carved image that's lit from the inside, and you get the colours, and as of course the thinner the brighter the light as well. It does seem really like it would be a really interesting medium. Capella skulls, inlaid skulls. Okay. Yeah. Well, in theory, bone can be carved, so I guess sharp knives and chisels can be used from that perspective. So it might not be subject to the same, shall we say, odor problems, but you still have the risks, I guess, with the fact it is bone. And of course, well, you know, what is it they do? Not exactly engraving, but it's with bone quite a lot is of course, can't remember what exactly the technique is which creates like a, you know, let's say you scratch it and then you rub ink over the top, and the ink obviously goes into the scratch and you get black. I can't remember what it's called, or quite how you create the space in which the ink goes into the engraving, I suppose it is. Hmm. Dear. It's kind of, in a way, doing this is kind of incredibly relaxing, because I'm not having to keep to straight lines, and I'm not having to sort of, you know, position things perfectly. It's just kind of like, you know, something in that sort of direction, and I'm not having to maintain tone and shade across you know, across the length of the stroke or anything. So it's kind of incredibly relaxing, and to do this. Although I guess it unfortunately doesn't probably make it quite as interesting as it would be if I was trying to do something a little bit more challenging in terms of pen control. Yeah. Zoki, is it? Good evening. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to be a little bit careful about that coyote dancer, because if I do sort of drop into that zone, I tend to shut up and concentrate exactly on what I'm doing, or just get lost in what I'm doing, and then I ignore chat and I ignore everything else, and sort of an hour later I'm just, oh, right, hello chat. But yes, it is nice getting into that. Obviously, when I'm not broadcasting, it's really lovely to just get lost in what you're doing. Okay, good evening. Thank you very much for following. That's great. How often do I broadcast? Every night. Coyote Dancer from 2000 hours UK time, UTC, GMT. All three are the same at the moment. So for 2 hours, give or take a little bit, depending on how things are going and what have you. And at the moment I will be doing quite a lot of pyrography because I have quite a lot of spare boards, and for other reasons I'm trying my best not to spend any more money, so I'm not going out and buying lots of rings, or for some of the other crafts, cottons and things like that. So we're going to be sticking to a lot of pyrography, maybe some carving and a little bit of scraper board, and the jewellery might come in from time to time, but the punchcraft will have to wait for a little while. And in case you hadn't realised, Free, it's about 10 to 10 now. I know it doesn't take you as long to get ready these days. Thank you both. Well, I can show you, I'll tell you what, since it's 5 to 10 and I will be stopping shortly, what I can do is show you a few examples, or a couple of examples of the carving and the other things. Tell you what I'll do first, Coyote Dancer. Since pyrography is your specialism, you've seen Junior. This is Felix. Felix the cat. And then we've got. I'll show you quite a bit of pyrography. This is something I tried. This is a door hanger. I tried to make sure I could do, if I could do something sort of in a very short period of time, and so there's a door hanger with a sleeping fox and one that's somewhat more awake. It was interesting trying to do it within I think an hour for each side, so it was something, you know, just trying it out. And then you saw the Salute to Sunset earlier, where there was my first tree, pyrograph tree was on there. So I then went and did some just little tree studies, you might call them. So I did 3 of them at the time, and then a little bit later on, we've just added another one, which is a palm tree. So. Yeah, well, I was just, you know, obviously, with what pyrography, of course, time is what makes the pieces expensive. So I was just trying to see what I could do in like a short period of time. These took about 10-20 minutes each. So yeah, just to see what was reasonable. And then effectively somebody asked me to do this. So there was that's a symbol from Zelda, which is the name of the symbol has completely escaped me, but we tried that, which was doing it was relatively easy. Getting the image onto the wood to do it was very hard. And then, just because I was having fun, we did some lettering. So that actually says Zelda in Hyrulean, if you're familiar with the Zelda games. Hyrulean. Yeah, and there we have Zaragan art in the same language. Just a bit of fun. I kept the stream teased for 2 hours to do both of those. I think it was as to what it was, and then just another piece that I wanted to. I actually did this in airbrushing. One of the first things I did in airbrushing. It's a train from Walt Disney World, and I just felt like it was. I happened to come across the painting, and I thought, hey, that would be a good thing to do in pyrography. So I did a pyrographic piece. But let me put those away. So I just thought, that's quite a bit of the pyrography at this end. I have done others, but they're spread around the house and they weren't done on stream. A couple of carved pieces, so hand carved with chisels. So we've got a relief carved rose. This is in ash, which is why it's such a shallow relief, because it was really hard. And then something in bass. So there we have basswood carving of Ruth the Dragon from the Anne McCaffrey books. And this is in the style that Michael Whelan used to illustrate the books in. And I shall get some scraper board. God, I'm gonna show off. I'm going to show off the very first scraper board image that I did, and I did it on stream. So, just giving you advanced warning. That it's the very first one I did. Not done it before. I literally opened the pack of paper on stream and did this. Sorry, I couldn't resist the setup on that, but it literally was the first one. I'd never done it before. That's of a gentleman called John Miles, who is a musician who has been in the charts, and he works with Tina Turner and Night of the Proms in Europe. And given that it's a black and white, for my second one, I could not resist doing Earthrise. It just suits it so well that I couldn't resist that. But then we had a little bit of a play with some colour, and that was the result. So this is scraper board, but then inked over with green ink. And then the image that I finished just before we started doing this pyrography. Now unfortunately, see if I can get the camera to go up a little bit more. There you go, so you can actually see the leopard. Whilst I've just found it, well, I've just come across it. That was the airbrush painting that pyrography was done of. So that was that we feel like was the inspiration for it. And then the other craft I mentioned is punch craft, which is a bit like miniature rug making. And so I've got a couple of trains. We're done. That's an English, well, European locomotive, heavy diesel for freight, and then we've got a steam locomotive, which, if I tell you that says Mallard, you can probably read it, but it's the world speed steam record holder. So that's 4 out of the 5 crafts that I actually have done or do on stream. And I could spend a lot of time doing jewellery, but I've sort of been playing with some jewellery, so some beadwork and a couple of different what do you call this, kumihimo braiding. I've been playing with, as well as much of the images that you see down here as well, which are chainmail. And I could go on for I could spend ages looking through my box of sample chainmail, but which is jewellery, but I can easily spend an hour talking about those. But we're at 10 o'clock now, and it's time for me to put away the tools for this evening and get a nice cool drink and hand over to 3D, who I hope will be going live shortly with his Bob Ross, and we'll see just how easy it is. He's been hopefully preparing magic white or magic black paint. Oh yeah, magic white paint, yes. And 3, you're just a little bit late today. Thank you, Coyote Dancer. What I'm going to do is, anybody that's watching, I'm going to just point out and remind them that there's a jewellery shop there, Etsy. I do make jewellery. Check it out. I think the stuff there is good, but it's my shop. But honestly, have a look. If it's of interest or not, pass it on to family and friends. Get them to have a look. You never know. There might be something there that suits somebody. In the meantime, if you're watching and not following, I of course do encourage you to do so. Don't quite know why you'd want to not follow me, but there again, takes all sorts. If you don't want to follow me but would like the notifications, then you can follow me on Twitter this time. So if you don't want to follow me, follow me. I know it sounds daft. At Zaragonart. Details are below the stream window in case you come back later and decide you'd like to follow me. I feel a bit like a hypnotist. You will follow me. Follow me. Push the follow button. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. Otherwise, I will be on tomorrow night. I do stream 7 nights a week, from subject to events and things, but from 8 PM UK time. That's 2000 hours UTC GMT. Or approximately 2 hours ago. It was 8 o'clock here in the UK. Thank you everybody for watching. I do hope to see you all again in the studio in the future. And Coyote Dancer, do look forward to seeing you stream as well at some point in the future. Thank you everybody. Highly recommend that you check out 3D Block. I will throw it into host at the end of this stream, but free may be a little bit late starting, so perhaps hop over there as well and check out the stream this evening. Thank you all. Have a good evening, and we'll see you again in the future. Bye bye.